Welcome to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson and I ask my guests one simple question. Why? Focusing on the importance of why, I share with you the relatable, uplifting and inspiring conversations I have with people from all walks of life. This podcast will encourage you to focus on your why to enable and empower you to achieve the success you desire. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why. Today on Focus on Why, I am joined by Kym Hamer. Kym, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Amy. I am absolutely delighted to be here. I'm very excited.
Well, you are now an international #1 podcaster.
Yes, I think that was a bit of a team effort. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, and you've been involved along the way, Amy. So yes, it's been an exciting ride.
Well, you were already podcasting before we met, and you already had your first series out, and then your second series you launched with a big bang at the Building Brand New. It's all taken a very different direction. And how has podcasting changed your perspective on your business and your brand?
Oh, wow. Where to start, I guess. So when I did my first season, I wasn't really sold on the whole idea of podcasting. I didn't understand what it could do really for my brand and you know, what was this all about? So what I did was record episodes and put them on YouTube. So I didn't really have a plan. I wanted to try different formats. So I did some 10-minute short episodes and then I did some longer interview episodes just to get a feel for what I liked and what people responded to and all of that sort of thing. And it was getting that rhythm going on YouTube. And then I thought, actually, I can really see this dual format working with the short episodes, which are sound bites from me, and then having some longer interviews. So I thought, right, it's time to do this properly and take a big leap. And I didn't really know much about all the platforms and how to do it. And it just seemed like such a big thing, a big leap. And, I was struggling with, do I really have the bandwidth to do this properly? And, we came across each other at the Professional Speaking Association and I heard you speak, and then we got chatting and I kind of said, well, actually, I could use some real expert help on this. And I also have a VA who is based in the Philippines, and she also has been an instrumental part of making all this happen. So we've got this huge list of stuff to do to make us visible from the master herself, Amy Rowlandson. And really between us, we just followed the list. You really helped us navigate through all the different platforms and why to do things and get on here and do this. And it has been amazing. I think one of the things I've really learned is to unashamedly and unapologetically promote it everywhere, many times a week. And before, I think I probably would have felt a bit nervous about that. Just sort of took the leap and jumped, and it's been an extraordinary experience, actually. Getting to #4 in the UK, #5 in the Netherlands, #6 in Sweden. We debuted at #20 in Ireland, got to #28 in Australia, and then we got it to #1 in the Philippines. So it was just, we're only sort of 7 weeks in since the launch of this second season. It's like mind-blowing.
So podcasting probably features quite highly with you working with your clients now and sort of recommending how they can build their brand. Let's go back a bit. Let's talk about what Building Brand New and what it is you're doing at the moment.
Yeah, sure. So Building Brand New came about, I guess, a response to my own journey, particularly leaving corporate life and becoming an entrepreneur. And one of the things that was a real highlight or a high point for me in that journey was I'd been in corporate life for all of my career in marketing, in innovation, in strategy, communications, all of that area. But I'd never considered myself as an entrepreneur. And I had a gap year, and then I went back to find a job. And it was in looking for the job, I had this moment of realization that the Kym-shaped box didn't exist out there. I was going to have to build it myself. And that was in the September. And on January the 1st, I launched Artemis Futures, which is my business coaching practice. And over that first 12 months, one of the biggest challenges for me was finding what my niche was and what my message was. And I just kept going back to this whole thing about it's in me, it's building my Kym-shaped box. What does that look like? And at the end of 2019, I was testing out building brand new messaging in the social media sphere. And the pandemic hit, and all of a sudden people were saying, I'm invisible, I feel disconnected, all of that sort of thing. And it was just the perfect storm, I think, for this is a time to build brand new, to actually look at what you already have. The strapline is unlocking your greatest asset, you. And that's really where my work focuses, and it's what I'm passionate about. I mean, my purpose is to live a vibrant, joyful, and fulfilling life for myself. And I want to show others how to do the same, whatever that looks like for them. So building brand new has emerged from my own personal journey.
And what does that Kym-shaped box look like?
Oh, it changes all the time. Depends on the day. So I think one of the key things for me in building the Kym-shaped box was I like to take ideas. I'm good at sort of understanding ideas and concepts, but I like to make them real and practical and everyday. I'm not someone that's great personally at lots and lots of theory and philosophical discussions. So there always comes a point with me where I'm listening and engaging in the discussion, and then I go, well, this is all very nice. What am I going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? I'm not interested in just having a chat. I want to do something with it. So that's where my coaching is, and that's what I really encourage people to think about. It's not about necessarily always, I think, defining your purpose or your why, as you call it first. Sometimes it emerges from some of the work you do with yourself every day and applying those little tools. So for me, it was about taking all those lessons I learned in marketing and communication and strategy and applying those to people every day, whether they're individuals in jobs, whether they're people who have their own business, or I've actually started to get a little bit of work in the corporate sphere with leadership and teams and that sort of thing. So it's really about looking inwards first and kind of going, okay, so who am I really, and how do I harness that, and how do I amplify that to build the kind of life I want?
And once you've looked inwards and you've distilled the message that you want to then share, how do you then go to building it up? How do you then build it forward?
Yeah, I think there's a number of things that are really important. I think listening is one of the best things you can do in actually building your brand, because you can think all of these marvelous things about yourself, but your brand exists in the world of other people. It's about other people's perceptions of you. And sometimes that can be quite a disjointed place to be at the start. And it can be quite a journey to balance all of that out. It was one of the things I dealt with, I guess, when I became an entrepreneur. I was a business coach, but business coach is a very, very broad thing to tell people that you do. And it wasn't until I sort of got that, I'm about building people's own personal brands, that I really got that. And that was about listening for what other people saw I did. So that feedback is so important, and it's one of the pieces of work I do with most of my clients and most of my corporates is let's think about you, but let's keep listening and seeing how you show up in the world. And if how you show up is not serving you, is not enabling you to build the kind of life you want, then what sort of things can we do to shift that? What are some of the tools we can use to connect your purpose with with the world.
And having spent all these years in corporate, why was it that you never saw yourself as an entrepreneur?
It's a great question. It had never really occurred to me as something to do. What's interesting is that in corporate, I was the one who always did the turnarounds and did the startups. I was never a status quo girl. So what's interesting is that I was being and behaving like an entrepreneur in all the jobs I had. What about this? What can we do here? How do we turn this around and make it better? That sort of thing. I was sort of disruptive and taking things from point A to point B. But if you wanted me to take it from point B onwards, I was kind of going, okay, I'm done here, that sort of thing. And when I look back, I can see that clearly. But at the time when I was in corporate, I liked the security of, a paycheck coming in every month. I didn't think I would manage that terribly well if I went into the entrepreneur space. But also I liked the opportunity to work in a big environment and to work with such disparate people. It wasn't just about working in my own team. All the roles I had, I tended to get fingers into lots of different pies and work with lots of different people and to learn more than just my own niche, my own marketing niche. And I loved that about corporate. And I couldn't see how going and working on my own as an entrepreneur could serve that. It just wasn't appealing. And it was that Kym-shaped box moment when I'd come out of corporate and had some time away and started to just experience who I was without all of that made me think about, well, what was behind that feeling and what were the behaviours and things that I loved about that. And I've just kind of built them in to my business. That is just how I work. So there was no one more surprised than me, I think, that all of a sudden I became an entrepreneur.
And at what point did the purpose in why you were doing what you're doing play a role?
That has been an emerging process. So there was a Kym-shaped box moment, which was a bit of, I guess, the why that pushed me. But I wasn't really clear until probably the end of last year about that living a vibrant, joyful and fulfilling life, because before I wasn't really doing that. And it sort of took me 18 months to have that aha moment of, oh, wow, I've taken responsibility for what I want. It has been up and down, super difficult, super exciting, but I wouldn't swap this for anything. It brings me so much joy. I look for joy, and I love the energy that I have and that I can share with people. And I sort of articulated that as a statement of living a vibrant, joyful and fulfilling life at the end of last year. And then I thought, well, that's what Building Brand You is all about. It was about that for me. And I want that opportunity for other people, however they choose to make it. So, it was over a period of time and trying stuff out, I think, trying out what works and what doesn't work and what lights me up and what doesn't.
And what does it feel like now to have had that aha moment and had not had it before?
There's a clarity. There's just such a clarity about what I'm about, and that it underpins a lot of the decisions I make about what I will participate in and won't. So I am just coming to the end of a 4-year term as a trustee at a local academy, a secondary academy. And when I think back about why I joined, it was about how are we equipping our young people with some of those softer skills, the skills about resilience and resourcefulness and being responsible for your own happiness and your own life. How are we equipping them with those skills so that they can thrive in the world we're all busy, all we older people are making for them? So again, I just thought, isn't it interesting how that showed up before I even articulated it? That empowering, how do I take responsibility for my life? And I am finishing as a governor after 4 years. It has been incredibly rewarding. But what I've noticed is that when I'm looking for the next things, that it has to be congruent with how are we empowering others to be responsible and to be resilient and resourceful. Life is not an easy ride, but it's a worthwhile ride to take. And I'm talking to a number of different people at the moment about where I might contribute. I think the other thing is that I'm drawn to working and partnering with people who have that same intrinsic value. So there's someone I do a lot of corporate work with in Barbados, of all places. It's very difficult. But she articulates it differently, but she is about everybody has the right to fulfill their potential. And you can see that similarity that brings us together when we work together.
And something you just said earlier about the taking the responsibility and for being resourceful for your own and having that resilience, but also having that same intrinsic value. What part does the values piece play for you?
It's becoming increasingly more important. One of the things that my Barbados partner does is she works in the realm of strategy, and she's developing a product around personal strategy. She's worked in it for years. She's done it sort of for other people, and now she's talking about doing it for herself. And I'm actually interviewing her on my podcast in a few weeks. But I've been through that process of what is my personal strategy, and it starts with values and articulating what those values are, and then how those values actually enable what you want. So one of my core values for myself is joy. And I think about that in terms of, well, when it's not there, what is my life like? That's a real thing for me. This year, some of my values shifted order. So for my work and service, it really is about focus, decisiveness this year. Whereas a couple of years ago, when I was starting my business, it was about growth and exploration. I'm 2.5 years into my business now, and I have such a clarity about what I want to build that focus and decisiveness as values are the things I expect from myself and I look for in other people that now at this stage of the journey.
And it's funny because when you were working in the corporate world, you like the turnarounds of startups. You didn't like the status quo. You were a starter more than a finisher. And now it's a case of, in your own business, you can't just be that starter unless you just sort of say, okay, now I'm just going to sell that business. So it's a different mindset that you've had to adopt.
Yes, and a lot of that has had to do with putting in place personal structures and disciplines to make sure I keep going. Now, sometimes that's surrounding myself with certain people, working with people, but, there are things about, I have a 30, 60, 90 plan that sits on my corkboard. It sits where I work, and every month I update it, and it maps against an annual plan. And so every 90 days or 100 days, I'm actually looking ahead and going, okay, so what are the things I need to be working on this month? And then what do I need to be planning for in the next couple of months in order to achieve what I want to achieve? So there's been some things I've had to put in place to go, okay, if I want this, I need to put some structures in place. I need to be self-disciplined, but I also need to be focused. I can be a bit of a magpie. I get very excited about lots of things and then, sort of finish nothing. Now, my friends and my family will tell you I'm one of the most self-disciplined people I know, but I don't know myself like that. So I think I'm all over the place. So it's about having that focus and almost single-mindedness about, if I'm going to build this, I'm going to build it. No kidding.
So do you feel that the building brand you has been a cathartic process and a personal process that has helped you to channel the way you want to work, and then you realise, well, actually, I can map this out for others? Yeah,
absolutely. I think I've always been someone who's been into personal development right from my teens. I read The Magic of Thinking Big and Napoleon Hill's books, when I was about 18 or 19 years old. So that mindset has always been there. But it's not until I really became my own boss and took charge of my own life that all of the books that I've read and the books I continue to choose to read have been a huge part of that growth mindset, I guess, that I'm not fixed. Who knows what conversation we could be having in 12 months, 18 months' time, and that's what's exciting, actually. You talked about the starter and the finisher, and the finisher needs to happen in order for me to start new things. If I continually start, it will go nowhere. So there's that constant cycle and that recognition of, well, in order for me to be able to start new things in 2 years' time, I need to create the groundwork now, and I need to put that in place. So it has been cathartic. I think there's something about, I loved what I did in corporate life, but it's only in leaving it that I realised how much I felt of myself I had to defend and how much of myself felt squashed. And now there's I said it before, a bit of an unapologetic, this is who I am, this is what I'm building. And you don't have to agree with it, but if you don't at least nourish and support my ambition, no matter how scared or you might be, then you're not for me. It's made me quite ruthless a bit in what I bring into my life and what I keep in my life.
So do you feel now that you understand who you are more?
Definitely. Yes, absolutely. And at the same time, I'm quite excited by who Kym will be in the next 2 years, or who Kym will be in the next 5 years or 10 years. There's a great Oscar speech that Matthew McConaughey did. I don't know whether you've seen it, but I highly recommend everybody have a look at it. But he talks about who is his greatest competition, who is his greatest hero, and his hero is the person he will be in 1 year's time, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time. And it's just a brilliant way to think about, who knows? And some people find that scary. I used to. And now I just find it exciting. And I think it's this journey I've been on over the last 2.5 years. I am unrecognisable to myself. There's still Kym at the heart, but yeah, it has been I feel like it's been the making of me.
So unrecognisable to yourself. What about your friends, family, peers? What do they see?
What's really funny is they go, oh, we always knew you could do it. So my mum, I was having this conversation with my mum last week, and in a couple of other recent conversations, I'll say, who knew, I would do this? And she just says very quietly, I did. And I go, how could you have known? And she said to me in this last phone call, she said, I remember looking at this little 4-year-old and going, you know what? She's just going to build something. She's just going to build what she wants one day. I don't know quite what it is. And I went, really? She went, yeah, this little 4-year-old, I could see it back then. And I go, well, it's interesting that it took me, 48 years to see that for myself.
So what is that, Kym? Because this is something I'm hearing all the time, and I recognise in myself. My husband of over 20 years now, he's been saying, oh, yeah, this is who you are. And I'm like, but how has it taken me he's known me for 26 years. How has it taken me that long for me to recognise what he's always said? How have I ignored all of those messages externally? What is that?
Yeah, I don't know quite what exactly it is, but one of the things that I always say to people is, if you listen to others, you'll actually find the answer. And particularly in a building brand new sense. I mean, yes, I think it's important to feel that it lands and it's authentic, but actually it's how we show up in the world. And we don't see that. We don't see that unless we listen to others and see ourselves through others' eyes. So it's a bit of a, in business, we talk about standing in the customer's shoes. And there's a little bit of that. One of the exercises I do with my clients is I say, I want you to go and ask people. I want you to ask this question. Don't make it different. What am I great at? And stop and listen. Because as a culture, I think you and I are a little similar in this, Amy, in that, you know, we love to grow, we love to learn, we're never complete. What else can I do? What else? And, you know, we live in this world where people will give us feedback and critique us, and we're taught that that's the way to grow, that there's I think particularly for women, a bit of a modesty. I come from Australia with the tall poppy syndrome, and if you stick up, you get your head cut off. So I think there's something about, what else can I learn? And we're not ever really taught to embrace what's great about us, and it makes us uncomfortable to hear it. So we listen to the feedback because we want to bring it into our lives and be better and grow, but actually what we don't do is listen to the great stuff, to the acknowledgement from people. And that can be so powerful. So that question, what am I great at, is it's something I do with a lot of my clients as one of the first exercises. Go to your friends and family. You are not allowed to ask, what am I good and bad at? You're not allowed to ask for feedback. You're not allowed to explain the question. You know, what am I great at because this is my homework from my coach? I'm not allowed to say that. What am I great at? And take whatever you get and really listen. And I've had clients say to me, I did it in the car with my family, and after 10 minutes we were all crying because we were all asking each other and stuff like that. But it is so powerful because we never see ourselves like that. We never see ourselves as great. We see ourselves as, I don't know, vessels of learning instead of vessels of greatness.
So when you ask people that question, what am I great at? What answers did you get, Kym?
Yeah, so there's a couple. So one of the things is about listening. One of the things is about energy. And I didn't want to own this for a long time. I didn't know what it was. People would say there's an energy about you. It's like a safe space. And for such a long time, I went like, I don't even know what that is. That's ridiculous. That's the thing that will have me standing in a group of people and someone will cross the street to ask me directions and walk past other people. So there's something about me that's approachable and an energy I have that people talk about all the time, but it took me a long time to own. And I still don't know what it is, but now I go, yes, that is something I have. The one that surprised me the most was when I first started the business, and I was texting a really good friend of mine that lives in the US, and she said, "Oh, you will be so amazing at that. You've always been visionary." I just read this and went, visionary? I'm not visionary. Like, what is that? And I was, again, mum, on the phone with her a couple of weeks later, and I said, April said this really weird thing. And I said, she said, you've always been visionary. Mum said, but you have. Like it was, going to the shop and buying a loaf of bread. She just said it like so normally. And it was that listening. As I started to kind of went, well, yeah, I am visionary. I do see the world in a different way. And that's really exciting for a lot of people. So, yeah, so they're the three things. I get listening, the safe space and energy, and the visionary creative piece quite a lot.
So what else has your mum said that you've ignored in life?
Look, I tell you, the older I get, the smarter my mum gets. I tell her this all the time. Interesting, we were talking just before we went live, and I was sharing that she sent me something last year, and it just really resonated with me. One of the things that I have had some real ups and downs about, I've been sort of through quite serious depression episodes and then sort of come out of them. And that's been a bit of a roller coaster my whole life. And throughout my life, as sort of on either sides of those episodes, I've said to Mum, why do I have to always want more? Why can't I just be happy like everyone else? Everybody else seems so settled and happy, and why do I always have to reach and want more and upend my life and things like that? And she was always there to to encourage and support me. But she sent me this quote, and it's from Rudyard Kipling, and I hope you don't mind if I read it and share it. So it goes like this: the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened, but no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. And that quote spoke to every conversation we'd had that was about me going, why do I always want more? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm reading a great book at the moment called The Courage to be Disliked. And it's all about that the problems in our life come down to interpersonal relationships, because essentially it's about being with other people around us, and then the comparison kicks in, the sort of wanting, striving more, or feeling inferior or feeling superior, and it's that constant struggle. So I love the quote you just shared as well. Yeah,
feel free to put it in the show notes and share it with everybody. I just think it really resonated, and I think you're so right. There's something in us that wants to be liked and accepted and to belong. And when I was in my early 20s, I heard someone on a main stage say 5% of people in this world will never, ever, ever like you, no matter what you do. And that was something that was quite liberating for a, early 20s, career woman. So there's always been that balance of going, well, how much do I need to be not liked, but accepted? And, how much of my spiky edges do I have to smooth to get by? And that was a lot of what I did in corporate. And now I kind of like that I can be spiky and say what I think. And when I'm coaching CEOs and stuff like that, it's not always nice. I'll say it with a smile, but there's a bluntness about, well, this is what I see, and this isn't happening, perhaps because of this. Silence.
Sounds great. Yeah, that holding the mirror up, and sometimes that mirror, does reflect an ugly picture that you need to swallow a bitter pill there. So, Kym, I can't believe we've come so quickly to drawing to the end here. It's been such a great journey, and as you said, life is not always easy. You've touched on the difficulties, and you've just mentioned also that there's that why do I always want more, and the bouts of depression that you've experienced. Knowing now that you have this energy, this vibrant, joyful and fulfilling life, and this way of charging other people's batteries, and also bringing that safe space, what's next? What is next for you?
Well, I think the first thing is that I love what I've been able to create in the podcast, and creating that space for people and feeling like I'm just talking to them was what I set out to do. And that's the feedback I've had. And I'm really proud of that. And I want to do more of that. So we're halfway through season 2. I'm already planning season 3. I can't help myself. So podcasting, I think, has been a perfect vehicle for me in building my brand. It's just been a perfect match. The other thing I'm doing is currently working on some online programs that will pull out some of the keys in building brand you. So one of the programs I'll be running over August is what I call my Pathfinder. So that's where we have a think about just where you are now, because you don't pop out of the womb, well, most of us don't anyway, going, hello, I'm fully formed and here's my brand. We've been busy doing life. So they're coming up in August, and then some of the online building brand you stuff will be live in September. And just, continuing to explore, I think, and go, well, how can I do more? How can I bring this to more people and create different ways for people to connect and to explore how a vibrant, joyful and fulfilled life might look for them.
Fantastic. And what's the best way to find you, Kym?
Well, I am one of these lucky people that has a name that I have to spell constantly. So actually, if you put it into Google, you will find me really easily, and then you can work out where's best for you. So I'm on all social media platforms, LinkedIn, there's the podcast, there's Facebook groups and Facebook pages, Instagram, the whole thing. So if you have a piece of paper handy, people, or you want to record this, it's Kym with a Y, which is really interesting given its focus on Y. So Kym, and my last name is Hamer, Ham for Mary, ER. So Kym Hamer, Google me, and then you can just reach out to me on any of those platforms and let me know that you heard me on here, you heard me talking to Amy, and I would love to connect with you.
Fantastic. Well, I will put in the show notes the various social media connections that you have, but also I might just for a laugh put in the show notes, Google Kym Hamer. Absolutely. Sometimes you just need one thing, one action to focus on. Let's not make this complicated, people. So I'll be interested to see what you find, actually. All good. So, Kym, it has been a blast, and thank you so much for coming on the show. And once again, congratulations for an incredible launch of your podcast, and knowing now that podcasting is your vehicle to convey your message, and I'm sure other people will come to recognize what a powerful medium it is as time it unfolds, because it has been a bit of a meteoric rise in the last year, whereas before it's taken 15 years to get to 1 million podcasts. We've now in the last year just surpassed another 1.5 million. So it really has been a dramatic increase into podcasting for people.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to everybody listening. I hope you've enjoyed this. And you never know where either of us might show up on a podcast near you somewhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, keep your ears open to us. So, Kym, do you have some final words for the audience, please?
Oh, where do I shared my mum's quote. That was going to be my final word. So what am I going to say now? Okay, so I think 4 things. So listen to others, try stuff out, be grateful. Bring gratitude into your life. Be grateful for the things you have. And always, always, always get back up.
Thank you for listening to the Focus on Why podcast. I'm Amy Rowlandson, and if you've enjoyed this episode, please leave me a 5-star Apple Podcast review. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Instagram and Facebook, and become a member of my inspiring, uplifting and positive Focus on Why Facebook group. I help people to focus on their why with clarity, uniting their passion with their purpose with a plan to create the life they truly desire. If you would like me to help you focus on your why, then please book a free 20-minute coaching call via calendly.com/Amy Rowlandson. And if you haven't already, please sign up for the Friday Focus weekly newsletter via my website, amyrowlandson.com. Have a purpose, have a plan, focus on why.